Hi everyone, it's Chris here. This video is going to get down to some of the brass tacks of writing in an academic context, and we're going to be looking at a few specific things, and they are lists and using parallel structure, and then deviating from that and looking at the use of apostrophes. Okay, so let's get going. So lists we'll start off with. Now, unlike essays, reports and other forms of technical writing can and often do use lists. Now, lists, like on the screen there, enable the reader to take in information at a glance, save needless repetition, and break long sentences up into their important parts. So they can serve a very useful function in technical writing. Now, lists can be bullet lists with a dot point, and that's if the sequence or priority is not important. And the other type of list you can use is a numbered list, and that's where the sequence or the priority is important. And we have used them in the first and second assignments. Okay, so an example of a list. So here we have a piece of text. The Megastar Dance Academy provides kindergarten dance classes, blah, 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 blah. But that's not quite so clear, is it? Certainly not as clear as that if you put it into a list. Much easier to read when you have the information in the list in this case. Now, if the list is long, it's a good idea to put the items in the list in alphabetical order. Okay, so colons. So when used in a sentence, the clause before the colon must be complete. So for example, my favourite foods are, colon, cheese, peaches and chocolate. Now in this case, the sentence before the colon is not a complete sentence. My favourite foods are. That's not a whole sentence. Whereas if we use it in a sentence, I have three favourite foods. That's a complete sentence. Colon, cheese, peaches and chocolate. And you can use a colon in that way. But colons can be used to introduce lists regardless of the sentence structure. So for example, my favourite foods are, colon, cheese, peaches, chocolate, full stop. Now wherever possible, you should try to use a complete sentence to introduce a list, but it's not always absolutely necessary. Okay, so use a colon to introduce the list. Don't use capitals unnecessary, so don't use capital letters unnecessarily. Don't use commas or semicolons after each item unnecessarily, and finish the list with a full stop. So in that way it functions kind of like a sentence. I have three favourite foods, colon, cheese, peaches, chocolate, full stop. And this is, according to the style we're using, the correct way to punctuate lists. Now, parallel structure. Your dot points will also need to use parallel structure, and I'll just explain what that means by using examples. So, Mary likes reading, shopping, and to go to the beach. Now, this isn't parallel, but if we said Mary likes reading, shopping, and going to the beach, those three items are then parallel. They're the same. They're grammatically the same structure. So, here's another one. The chief engineer had to write her report quickly, accurately, and give details. So, the way to make that parallel would be the chief engineer had to write her report quickly, accurately, and thoroughly. So there we have three terms that are consistent. And one more, he achieved excellent results because he paid attention in class, submitted his assignments on time, and his motivation was high. This isn't parallel. We could change that to he achieved excellent results because he paid attention in class, submitted his assignments on time, and was highly motivated. So I've underlined the verbs there, or the words that can add to the items being parallel. Okay, so how would you correct the faulty parallelism in this sentence? Frank has a Ferrari, loads of money, and is famous. We've got a noun, and an adjective. Well, one way to do it would be Frank has a Ferrari, loads of money, and fame. There we have noun, noun, noun. They're all parallel. Okay, so here's another one. John is healthy, wealthy, and a wise person. Kind of obvious, this one. Adjective, adjective, noun. We need to change that. We've got John is healthy, wealthy, and wise. And then we have adjective, 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 and they're all parallel. Here's another one. It is a truism that to give is more rewarding than receiving. So there we have and the infinitive, and then we have a gerund, and this is a bit complicated. Easy way to correct that. It is a truism that to give is more rewarding than to receive. So we can see that those two items there are parallel. They're parallel infinitives. They found comfort in singing, holding hands, and large groups. We've got a couple of gerunds and a noun. So the way to correct that would be, they found comfort in singing, holding hands, and being in large groups. We can see that they're parallel. So they're parallel gerunds. Okay, so how would you correct the items in this list to make them parallel? We've got Smith made 2 recommendations. The installation of a mounting bracket to secure the pole, extend the length of the cable. Okay, so these 2 items aren't parallel. Well, we've got a couple of options. So Smith made 2 recommendations. Install a mounting bracket to secure the pole, extend the length of the cable. So there we have 2, they both start with verbs and they're parallel. Or we could do, Smith made 2 recommendations. The installation of a mounting bracket to secure the pole and extension to the length of the cable. And they both start with noun phrases. So there's 2 different ways that we can make those parallel. And this is very important when you're writing lists. Okay, so your return. Activity 4.4 lists in the study guide, pages 66 to 67, have some examples of these, and so have a go at those. Now, finally, apostrophes. Now, this is getting exciting. The games that get pretty crazy at English teachers' parties. So the use of apostrophes. Apostrophes are used in 2 ways. To indicate letters are missing, so we are becomes we're, did not becomes didn't, and to show ownership or possession. So the dog's bowl, the girls' uniforms, the children's toys. But the position of that apostrophe can differ depending on whether it's one or many. So in the case of girls, it could be referring to many girls or one girl. And of these 2 types, so to indicate the letters are missing or to show ownership, we only ever use the second one in academic writing. Avoid contractions in academic writing. So the first one we shouldn't see at all. Okay, so some people use an apostrophe whenever they see an S at the end of a word, and you might see this on signs outside shops and things. Fresh pies for sale. Okay, so that doesn't. That should just be with no apostrophe, or bikes to be left on the footpath. So the use of apostrophe is to indicate possession. Now, the way that you can determine where the position of the apostrophe goes is, so here we've got a simple example, so the bowl of the cat, or the behaviour of the cats. So write down the owners, so in the case of the red font there, so cat, put an apostrophe after the last letter of the owner, apostrophe, and then add an S only if you say it. So cats becomes cat's bowl. Behaviour of cats, now here we have plural, we have more than one, so cats, with an apostrophe at the end, and then we have cat's behaviour. You only add an S if you say it. That's a good general rule. So girl, we have the hair of the girl, girl, apostrophe, S, girl's hair. The names of the girls, so more than one, girls, apostrophe, girls. We don't say girlses, so we don't add an S there. Now, the toy of the child, so child, add an apostrophe, child's. The apostrophe doesn't go after the S, it goes after child. The ward of the children, so children is already plural, children, apostrophe, S. Now it does get confusing when you have names that end in S. So James's. In traditional grammar we didn't add the S, but now generally speaking if we say the S we add it. So James's book, Tessa's brother, boss's office. If you say the S, put the apostrophe and add the S. Okay, so that's it for this short video. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. All right, bye for now.